The air inside the cockpit of Captain Eli Barak's F-35I Adir was pressurized, stale with the recycled scent of adrenaline and burnt circuitry. His gloved fingers hovered over the control stick, steady and precise, as he stared through the head-up display at the distant shimmer of the Houthi-controlled port along Yemen's rugged coastline. Target data streamed across his screen in real time. Fuel depots, drone launch sites, and heat signatures confirmed to be vehicles, some active. Operation Hammerlight was go. "Target grid locked," he said into his comm, voice clipped. "Flight lead to Ghost Wing. Confirm readiness." "Ready on your mark," came the reply from Lieutenant Yossi Tal, his wingman flying tight on his 6. Two other jets held formation above, painting overlapping targets with surgical intent. The strike was supposed to be quick, clean, a demonstration that deterrence still mattered. Eli's HUD blinked red. Missile lock achieved. A small vibration rattled through the jet as two J-dams detached beneath his wings and raced toward the Earth. The roar of their descent echoed in his helmet just before the view turned to flame. The horizon bloomed orange as shock waves rippled over the coastline. Smoke unfurled like dark wings, and the port was reduced to fire and rubble. But something felt wrong. "Do you see that?" Yossi's voice cracked with unease. Eli looked. A metallic glint had survived the strike, unburnt and still. A sleek obsidian structure, definitely not Houthi design, emerged from beneath the port rubble. At its center, a spherical pod encased in a lattice of glowing veins, pulsing like a living heart. Then, silently, a shape detached from it and hovered upward, an angular drone unlike any in the known Houthi arsenal. It made no sound, no contrail, just impossible motion. "Command! We've got unidentified aerial tech lifting from the blast zone, non-Houthi, possibly non-terrestrial, requesting instructions." Static. His earpiece popped once, then fell silent. The drone moved with fluid grace, darting past his jet without triggering a single missile lock. Radar scrambled, targeting reticles spun. Eli tried manual override. Nothing held. It was like trying to catch a ghost with a net made of fog. At the command center in Tel Aviv, Lieutenant Naomi Farid slammed her palm against the terminal screen. "Telemetry's corrupt. That's not a drone. It's emitting in the gamma band. That's a communication spectrum, not navigation." "Communication with what?" Colonel Ayton growled beside her, watching the feed twitch and blur. The satellite footage was lagging by seconds, but it showed the same eerie figure, smooth, dark, and climbing straight into the stratosphere. Naomi tapped into a secondary system and rerouted power to the AI decryption core. Signals encrypted, the structure at the port was transmitting before detonation. Low-frequency pulses like sonar. It was waking something up. Waking. Aytan turned, pale. Back in the sky, Eli's jet shook violently, not from external force but from systems overloading. The lights flickered. His HUD blinked and cleared, then blinked again. The drone reappeared on radar, above Tel Aviv. "That's impossible," Eli muttered. It hovered 50 meters above the city's skyline, motionless. Traffic below had frozen, and cell phone networks began dropping one by one. People stepped out of their cars, phones raised, recording the silent machine. It did not fire, it did not speak, it simply watched. Then, for the first time, it responded. A burst of radio noise, structured like Morse code but faster than human cognition, flooded command channels. Naomi's fingers danced across the keyboard. The decryption core translated fragments. Echo triggered, judgment pending, observer initialized. "What judgment?" Ayton asked. But Naomi was already typing, feeding patterns into the linguistic framework. "It's not a weapon," she said finally. "It's a sensor, a signal node. Whatever that port covered up, it wasn't human-made, and now it knows we're here." She looked up at the screen again. "And it's calling for backup." From his cockpit, Eli could only watch. The drone above Tel Aviv vibrated once, then blinked out of existence. Not flown away, not cloaked, gone. The air around where it hovered shimmered faintly, like disturbed water, and then fell still. Eli exhaled sharply. What the hell did we just start? Naomi had no answer. Neither did the colonel. But below them, the earth was no longer quiet. Deep under the remains of the port, seismographs began reporting motion, rising heat, subtle shifts, and geometric echoes that matched nothing in geological databases. Something was beneath the Earth's crust, and it had just been given permission to rise. Eli's jet banked slowly toward base, but he felt no triumph. The mission wasn't over. It had only just begun. The briefing room buzzed with a tension that couldn't be diffused by caffeine or clipped military efficiency. Captain Eli Barak stood at the center of the semicircular room, still in flight gear, helmet in hand, eyes sharp with the memory of the untraceable drone and the inexplicable vanishing act over Tel Aviv. Around him, officers and analysts murmured, passing tablets, overlaying satellite footage, and running AI pattern recognition on sensor logs that refused to make sense. Lieutenant Naomi Farid stepped to the front, flanked by two cyber intelligence officers who hadn't slept in nearly 36 hours. Her voice was calm, but the flicker in her gaze betrayed unease. We've ruled out known adversaries. This wasn't Chinese, Russian, Iranian, or even black market tech. What left the port wasn't constructed with any material signature we can track. The drone above Tel Aviv, it never emitted heat. It didn't register on LiDAR. Its movement broke conventional flight laws. Eli shifted. What about the seismic readings? That thing underground? Naomi tapped the screen, and a wireframe of the subsurface port appeared. The blast exposed what we believe is a containment vault. At first, we thought it was a bunker. But it's not hollow space. It's dense, multi-layered, and it's not staying still. The wireframe pulsed as updated readings scrolled in. Vibrational patterns, consistent, rhythmic, radiated outward like sonar from a submarine too deep for surface detection. Colonel Aitan spoke for the first time in 10 minutes. This wasn't just a hidden base. It was a buried signal post, and we just triggered it. Triggered what exactly? Asked General Mir, patched in via secure hololink. His voice came from a clean blue outline flickering in the air above the table. We need clarity before panic gets legs. Naomi hesitated. We believe this was a dormant alien relay, a listening post, maybe even a surveillance node placed long ago and disguised under human infrastructure. The Houthi occupation might have been incidental, or they might have been trying to control it, or worship it, muttered one of the cyber officers under his breath. Eli leaned forward, jaw tight. What are we facing? The drone was a scout, Naomi said. An observer. Its presence in Tel Aviv wasn't an attack, it was confirmation. Eli blinked. Confirmation of what? Naomi looked at him. That we're capable of finding them, and willing to act without understanding. Across the globe, strange phenomena were now being reported in clusters. A silent pulse over the Sea of Okhotsk had disrupted satellites. An anomalous light spike was recorded near Antarctica. A British naval vessel in the Indian Ocean claimed a brief visual of a structure rising from beneath the waves. Impossible, silent, and gone within moments. Aitan rubbed his temple. So this isn't just our mess anymore. No, Naomi said, but we started it. Eli turned toward the projection again, watching a slow-motion render of the drone's disappearance. It blinked out of existence the moment the Tel Aviv population reached peak attention. Half the city had eyes on it. Half the world saw it later on social media, re-uploaded, analyzed, debunked, rebunked, and blurred into chaos. The perfect moment for something not of this world to test its visibility. We're past containment, Naomi said. We're in a first contact scenario. And they're not landing ships or opening dialogue. They're watching. Measuring the general's hologram went still, muted for a full 30 seconds. Then he gave a single nod. Send a joint alert to CENTCOM, NATO, and the Pacific Fleet. Frame it as an unidentified technological threat. No mention of extraterrestrial origin yet. Not until we have physical evidence. We do, Naomi said. Everyone turned. She tapped again, pulling up a high-resolution scan. A chunk of wreckage retrieved from the port's deepest crater had survived the blast. It was sleek, black as obsidian, and covered in ridged impressions like fossilized circuitry. Inside was a crystal-like core pulsing with an internal light. No energy source, no radiation, just an oscillating frequency that changed every hour. We've moved it to a secure underground facility in the Negev, Naomi said, but we haven't stopped it from signaling. Could this be a beacon? Eli asked. Naomi's face was pale. It already is. For a moment, silence gripped the room, and then a siren blared. An alert flashed on the main wall. Unidentified entry detected. Upper mesosphere. Vector lock confirmed. Eli's heart stuttered. They're responding? No, Naomi whispered. They're arriving. Above the Earth, a shape larger than anything man-made hovered silently in low orbit. Cloaked to the naked eye but visible now through their recalibrated tracking array, it rotated slowly, unblinking, ancient. And from its underbelly, multiple heat signatures began to descend, quiet meteoric trails spreading like seeds across multiple continents. It was no longer a matter of whether contact had occurred. It was now about whether humanity would survive it. The hangar deep beneath the Negev desert thrummed with restrained energy. Thick steel doors sealed the artifact behind multiple containment layers, lead shielding, pulse dampeners, and static nullifiers. And yet the core pulsed ever brighter, its rhythm now indistinguishable from a biological heartbeat. Lieutenant Naomi Farid stood alone in the observation bay, watching it from behind reinforced glass, tablet in hand, eyes darting between sensor data and the growing list of global disturbances. Captain Eli Barak entered, his uniform rumpled, the lines around his eyes etched deeper since their last flight. 2 new objects just made landfall, one in the Amazon basin, another off the coast of Madagascar. Naomi didn't look up. Any casualties? None reported, he said. They didn't strike. They embedded, like probes. She finally turned. They're not here to destroy us, not yet. They're gathering metrics. Metrics for what? She hesitated. For decision. Eli approached the glass, his eyes on the artifact. And what if they decide we're a threat? Naomi's silence spoke more than any theory. The artifact's glow intensified suddenly, casting jagged shadows across the walls. Sensors flickered, then steadied. A fresh pulse rippled out. Clean, harmonic, directed. We triangulated the last signal burst, she said. It bounced off the new object in Madagascar and returned through low Earth orbit. The pattern it used, it matched human brainwave signatures. Specifically, REM states Eli turned, startled. It's communicating through dreams? Or intercepting them? Maybe both. Eli ran a hand through his hair. How do we fight something that lives in thought, in signal? It's like trying to punch a memory. Naomi's voice was quiet. We don't fight it, not until we understand it. But we already struck first. Naomi met his gaze. Exactly. Which is why they haven't spoken in words. They're waiting to see what kind of species we are, impulsive or introspective, violent or curious. The lights flickered, and the artifact flared again, emitting a tone, low, melodic, mournful. On the tablet, the AI interpreter attempted another decryption. Strings of semiotic logic appeared. Repeating phrases emerged, location compromised, awareness initiated, separation ending. They're not invading, she said, breath-catching. They're returning. Eli frowned. Returning to what? Naomi stepped away from the console. Maybe Earth wasn't always ours alone. The screen changed again, unprompted. A map of Earth appeared, ancient shorelines outlined faintly beneath modern ones. Superimposed structures bloomed across deserts, oceans, ice shelves. Places long thought myth. Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria flashed briefly, then were wiped clean. Eli stared. These were real! They left markers. We buried them in myth, in religion, in art. Every forgotten monument might have been a signal tower, every lost civilization, a relay. Outside, the base quaked lightly. Dust drifted from concrete seams as seismic sensors chirped. Naomi checked the readings. The artifact's signal is drawing something upward. Subterranean masses, moving toward the surface. Are we under attack? Number, it's not aggression. It's assembly. On the far side of the base, sirens flared, low priority, no explosion, no breach. But dozens of personnel began reporting vivid hallucinations, figures walking through walls, voices speaking in forgotten tongues, visions of stars not yet charted. Eli grabbed his communicator but paused when his own hand trembled. For a moment he saw something, reflected in the glass beside the artifact. A tall, elegant silhouette not of this earth, and yet familiar. They're inside us, he said, voice low. Not possession, Naomi said, her voice steady despite her wide eyes. Memory. They seeded us, long ago. And now that the beacons are active, the echoes are waking up. Eli swallowed. What happens when the last one is found? We either remember who we were meant to be, Naomi said, or they erase the mistake. The light surged, then stabilized. The artifact dimmed. On the tablet, one final translation appeared. Threshold reached. Judgment commences. Above the Earth, the cloaked structure in orbit shifted. Massive segments rotated outward like petals. From its center, a single beam of light reached toward the planet. Not a weapon, but a lens. A watcher. Across the globe, humans began to dream in unison. A network of minds, stitched together by invisible threads, guided by thoughts not their own, but not unfamiliar either. Naomi touched the glass. We're not alone. We were never alone. Eli looked up at the stars beyond concrete and steel, wondering whether the future had already been decided, or if they were still writing it one thought at a time.